And welcome back to the Sports Night interview. I am your host, Evan Grote, and joining me today is a special guest. I'm happy to have him here, excited to have him here, and that's Mr. Keith McPherson, who is a radio personality, a radio host for WFAN in New York City. And Keith, I know this is a busy time of the year for you with baseball starting, so we appreciate you making a few minutes for us here today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for having me. It's a great time of the year. The Super Bowl ends, pitchers and catchers report, and we're itching for actual baseball news and stories and things to talk about.
Absolutely. You said it. Pitchers and catchers report this week. And if you're a Yankee fan, it's time to get excited. I know you are. So I want to touch on a couple of the larger storylines heading into training camp or spring training, I should say, with this team. Let's first start with the big one. There was a lot of turnover on this roster, but the one that everyone is talking about still is the loss of Juan Soto. And that absolutely is a big loss, but they went out and they tried to fill some of the voids that were on this roster. Now, when you look at the roster the way it's currently constructed right now, do you think that this year's team, at least heading into spring training, as it on paper, anyways, do you think it's more complete than the team last year, despite losing an MVP caliber player like Juan Soto?
Yeah, I think complete is the right word, not better. A lot of people are jumping into saying that this team is better with Juan Soto. I just think that that's not true and may prove to not be true. If they don't make it back to the World Series, then, the team was better last year. But it's a more complete team defensively. The rotation is better. The bullpen is better. And I expect the infield defense and outfield defense to be better. You get rid of Juan Soto, or you lose out on Juan Soto because they didn't want to get rid of him. But you get Judge back in right field. Judge is a better defender than Juan Soto in right field. No knock on Juan Soto. It's just facts. And then you bring in Cody Bellinger, and he's going to play center field. He's got experience there. I think there's a chance that we see Jason Domínguez in center field. I know they want him to play left field, but I feel like they got to make that young guy comfortable. They're going to be leaning on him this year. This is his first real big league season. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Belly take on the challenge of playing left, Dominguez playing center. Then you get Paul Goldschmidt to replace Anthony Rizzo. That's a plus. Jazz Chisholm goes back to a position he's played, more obviously third base. It was his first time taking on that challenge last year. And we learned that Brian Cashman traded for him to play second, and they wanted to move Gleyber Torres over to third, and Gleyber Torres pushed back on that. So Jazz took it on. So you get him at second base, obviously Volpe at shortstop, and then there's a competition between DJ LeMahieu, Oswaldo Cabrera, and Oswald Peraza at third for now, but they could still make a trade. They could still potentially, add somebody else there. And then Austin Wells at catcher, and we'll see who ends up being the backup catcher after we go through spring training.
Yeah. Now, you touched on a lot of the improvements you think this team will have defensively as being more complete. But when you look at the offense, you got a big void there to fill with the loss of Soto and some of the other guys too, like Gleyber and Rizzo. Do you think that they did enough in the offseason with Goldschmidt and Bellinger? And I know you mentioned Dominguez as a guy who's going to step in there and have a larger role. Do you think there's going to be enough offense there? Because I can recall there were times last year, even with Soto, that, there were some droughts there. If it weren't for Judge and Soto, the offense struggled at times. Do you think there's enough offense there this year?
I think there is. I think it's a philosophy change to run prevention and defense. But I'll start with Aaron Judge, and I've been telling everybody this. If Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, he is the offense. If Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, he's going to, hit 50 home runs and drive in, 120 RBI. He's going to be Aaron Judge. When I think about losing Juan Soto, you can't replace his production. He is one of one. He's one of the greatest hitters we've ever seen. Being able to watch him every single day, his approach in the batter's box, what he does to the pitcher, what he does to the ump, and what he does to the rest of the lineup, he's very unique. But I do hope to see Cody Bellinger turn back into 2019 Cody Bellinger, at least for a couple of weeks, a couple of series, not the whole year. Paul Goldschmidt as well turned back into more of his 2022 self when he was MVP and not so much of what we saw last year. And I think the biggest thing that the Yankees are banking on is growth. They are relying on young players like Austin Wells and Anthony Volpe and Jason Domínguez to play at a major league level and be contributors every day. And none of them have done that yet as far as offensive production. There were times where Volpe last year was one of the worst hitters on the team. There were times last year where Austin Wells was hitting home runs and batting cleanup and looking great. And then other times he disappeared. And Dominguez has only really faced minor league pitching. Even at third base, let's say Cabrera wins the job or Peraza wins the job. These are guys that have to show that they can do it for, a whole Major League Baseball season. And I think the Yankees are banking on so much of if, these young guys will mature and if the old guys can turn back the clock.
So you brought up Judge, being the offense, but, again, I hate to keep bringing up Soto, but one of the other benefits of having a guy like Soto in that lineup is the protection that he provided to Judge. Are there any concerns when you look at the lineup this year that, Judge could be pitched a lot differently?
Yeah, I wouldn't pitch to Judge. There were times last year where I didn't understand why they were facing Judge. When he went on that run where he was projected to hit 70 homers, I'm like, they keep pitching him, they keep trying him.
Yeah.
I think they're going to look to put, Bellinger and Goldschmidt around him. And here's a name I haven't mentioned yet, Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton just had one of his best postseason performances ever. And I mean, it's not that we're surprised because we've seen him be a postseason monster. If he can stay healthy and he can hit 25, 30 home runs at the DH spot, he's still a threat. I just think that, losing Soto, it's a tandem thing, right? You got to see a dominant tandem with Soto batting second and Judge batting third. But I think they'll have a longer lineup if guys, play to their expectations.
Yeah, agree. One of the other storylines that's surrounding this team, you alluded to it a bit there, was the battle that's going to take place at third base. Chisholm now moves to second base. There's going to be an open competition for the starting job at third base. LeMahieu, Cabrera, Peraza are some of the names that are going to be involved. How do you see it shaking out? And any worries about this being a potential position of weakness for the Yankees?
Yeah, I just think that the Yankees, they want competition in camp. There will be competition for the leadoff spot, and obviously there will be competition at third. They also are very conscious of their spending and their money, and DJ LeMahieu is owed $30 million in the next 2 years, where they're not going to just write him off. They're going to give him an opportunity to see if he still has it. I don't think many of us believe he does, but maybe he can prove us wrong and be a little bit. That's another older player we're hoping can turn back the clock to 2019, 2020. And then we're also hoping another younger player grows, like an Oswaldo Cabrera. I think that they explored a ton of options this offseason to improve third base, but ultimately didn't land on any that were cost effective or any trades. Cashman spoke about waiting on prices to come down, right? They talked to Alex Bregman. The price was too high. They claim they never explored a Nolan Arenado trade, but I got to assume that they checked on it. I'm not so worried about it because, there's enough talent there. And I just think iron sharpens iron and competition is good. And having competition at third base will bring out the best of, whoever it is there. And then they also have from now until August to make a trade and get a third baseman if it's not working out. If this, is a hole in the lineup and in the infield. I don't expect it to be a hole in the infield. All three of those guys can pick it. But if, this guy, whether it's DJ, Oswaldo, or Oswald, is batting eighth, and all of those guys can be batting under 200, if that's the case, they're going to have to make a move.
Right. Now, I want to circle back to one of the things that you mentioned earlier in our conversation, and that was about growth and the growth that they're hoping to see from Jason Domínguez. What gives you belief? What gives you faith that he's ready to make that jump? Because he hasn't had a lot of major league experience. We saw the very small stint that he got last year towards the end of the season. We saw him struggle a bit in the field, but do you think he's ready to take the next step and to go from minor league prospect to everyday left fielder?
I hope so. I think 2 years ago when they brought him up, it was like break glass in case of emergency. The team was terrible. They weren't making the postseason. fans were chanting "Fire Cashman," making Fire Cashman shirts. They even put together a Fire Cashman night, and you know what Cashman did? He poured cold water on that, and he poured cold water on it by calling up Domínguez, also calling up Austin Wells, Everson Pereira, and kind of giving Yankee fans a Baby Bombers 2.0. And the first swing Domínguez had, he took Justin Verlander deep. So everybody's screaming about the Martian and so fired up about the guy. Then he gets hurt, and then he misses time. And then last year, he's available at the end of the year, and he's not able to get up to speed. So that's why I go back to, I think they should play him in center field because that's his true position, his natural position. And you need that guy to be comfortable. He's also going to be in the mix to lead off. He's a switch hitter, but I think they prefer him on the left side. I think he can do it, man. But I just think with any rookie, there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some bumps in the road, some growing pains. So I don't expect him to be an all-star this year, but I expect him to, show that power. I expect him to show his athleticism. He's built like a linebacker. I certainly think he belongs.
Yeah. Yeah, Yankee fans may have to be patient with him, and I know that's hard for Yankee fans to do. I want to wrap the conversation up by talking a little bit about the pitching staff. We have not even brought Max Fried up, which was really the big free agent acquisition that they made this offseason. Right now, this rotation, I think it looks as deep as ever. I think it looks real good right now going into spring training. You got Cole, another year older. We know he's coming off the injury from last year where he missed most of the season. Fried, how will he perform under the bright lights in New York? And can Luis Gil, can he follow up what was a really strong rookie season? I think those are some of the things that people want to know. But overall, what are your expectations for this team? And if you want to throw in the bullpen there, I know they had an addition there as well with Devin Williams. Let us know what you think about the pitching overall.
Yeah, when you have $760 million out there for Juan Soto, you tell your fan base that you're ready to spend. And I think the plan B after missing out on Soto was Max Fried, arguably the best pitcher on the free agent market. Corbin Burns was not coming to New York. Max Fried wanted New York. Max Fried said he perked up when he heard that the Yankees were interested. And also the Yankees played keep away from the Red Sox and Blue Jays, who also were pivoting away from Juan Soto to spend there. He's a left-handed ace that you pair with Garrett Cole. I'm excited for the prospect of them getting to the postseason again, with that being your 1A and 1B. You can bump Carlos Rodon back. I think if he's healthy, and he's just got to be healthy for October. If he's healthy, he can be dominant. I think Yankee fans are going to really enjoy Max Fried's bump day when he gets the ball. I think he has the stuff to throw so many different pitches and keep hitters off balance and go deep into games. It gives us like another Cole. Cole's getting up there in age. It gives us another ace. Luis Gil is a young ace coming up, rookie of the year. But can he do what he did last year? Like last year was the most pitches he ever threw. And the whole year, everyone's anticipating when are they going to shut him down, or when are they going to put an innings limit on him, or whatever. And, he actually found his way, and he hurt his back for a little while, but he pitched in the postseason and contributed when they needed him to. Clark Schmidt is another one who is just another year. Clark has got to show that he is a, consistent major league starter. And I know he is. And like I said, bumping back Carlos Rodon, I hope that Carlos Rodon is another year in pinstripes, just more comfortable. I hope that he learned from his experience kind of showboating against the Royals in the DS, kind of getting ahead of himself after just one good inning and learning like, man, it's a longer grind. It's a longer road, but I hope there's less pressure on him. He's not expected to be what Max Fried is. And I think that's why they went to get Max Fried. You lose a Clay Holmes, and honestly, good riddance. Like that's the Mets problem now. They want him to be a starter. He was a pain point for all Yankee fans. He had the most blown saves in history. Like the guy couldn't get it together, and neither could the defense behind him. So you go get Devin Williams to actually be your closer, to actually get those last 3 outs and close the door. I just saw Devin Williams with his beard shaved. I feel so bad for the guy. I got to meet him a couple weeks ago. It's been like 6 years since he, was clean shaven. And I think this is the latest example of like the Yankees looking really outdated with this rule, but it is what it is. Hopefully it doesn't zap his aura. Hopefully he's still a very dominant closer. MLB Network ranked him the #1 reliever in baseball. And then they also made the move for Fernando Cruz, who has good swing and miss stuff. They bring back Jonathan Loaizaga when he's healthy. He can be great. Tim Hill and, those guys go along with Ian Hamilton and Jake Cousins and Luke Weaver, who filled in as the closer last year. Now he could be the setup guy. So I just think they have a great opportunity this year to change their philosophy from, we're going to be an exit velocity, home run hitting team and bludgeon you to death to, instead of trying to beat you, 7-3, we'll beat you 5-3, or we'll beat you 3-1. And I think, it's just a philosophy change. I think it's just a different look than it was having, the all-star tandem of Soto and Judge, but the pitching has to be a big focus.
Yeah, you got to adapt to what your roster's strengths and weaknesses are. And I think a philosophy change would be beneficial to this team. I think this team goes as far as their pitching takes them this year. But Keith McPherson, we appreciate your time. Your insight was excellent. Go out there, give him a follow. You can follow him on X at Keith_McPherson. And Keith, go ahead and tell us where we can find you, when we can find you, and anything else that you have coming up in the future that you want us to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, so I'm the nighttime host on WFAN, New York Sports Talk Radio, the longest standing sports talk radio. Many rate us as #1, but so many other cities and, radio stations, 2 radio stations in each city have popped up. So I'm not even sure if that's the case, but we've got a ton of listeners, a ton of fans, and I'm on every night talking everything New York sports and beyond. So that's on the Odyssey app, but that's also 101.9 FM in New York and 660 AM in New York. And everything else is just my first and last name at Keith McPherson on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. And my LLC is McPherson Brand LLC. So you can find the YouTube channel under McPherson Brand, and McPhersonBrand.com is where I just kind of house everything else.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and keep up all of your great work.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Have a good one.